9 Premier League games took place over the course of this weekend. Let's take a look at the results, what they mean, and some predictions going forward. Don't forget to stick around to the end for your chance to win up to £5 with the Premier League predictions for next weekend. Newcastle beat Chelsea 4-1. Newcastle doing very well at home, good result for them. Chelsea lacklustre, look back to their usual selves, unable to score despite the chances that they create. What's quite interesting about Chelsea in their previous run of form is that they beat Tottenham 4-1, they drew to Manchester City 4-4, and now they've lost 4-1 to Newcastle. Newcastle, I think once their key players come back, they will shoot up the league, potentially finishing sort of fourth. Good result for them. Manchester City drew 1-1 with Liverpool. I think that we expected this result to sort of give us an indicator as to who would go on to win the league. And I think that this 1-1 result didn't really give us any of that. Doku looked brilliant against Trent Alexander-Arnold on that right-hand side, that Liverpool right-hand side, Manchester City's left side. Haaland obviously scored again. And we are no closer to the answer as to who's going to go on to dominate or win the Premier League this season. Brentford lost 1-0 to Arsenal at home. Arsenal, again, I think that we were hoping that this would give us some sort of indicator as to who goes on to win the Premier League. Arsenal won the game, but they never really got out of second gear. Late goal by Kai Havertz. And you know, the question has to be asked of, are Arsenal performing badly but picking up results? And is that an indicator of them being a good team? Or is it going to be the case of they're going to continue to play badly and stop picking up results, as some teams do? But we're going to see. Arsenal now move top of the league, which is great for them. But there aren't enough points separating them, Manchester City and Liverpool, to give any great indicator as to what the outcome will be in the future. Tottenham lost 2-1 to Aston Villa. Tottenham obviously missing those important players, including Mickey van der Ven and James Maddison. And I think until those two players come back, they're going to be struggling. But I do think that when those players return, they'll probably go on a good run of form and maybe finish top four, or they'll definitely be competing for it, in my opinion. Aston Villa are one of the teams of the season to watch. Some incredibly entertaining players in McGinn and Diaby, and obviously Ollie Watkins, who scored again. And I think that Aston Villa will produce a good push for the top four, and I think that they're likely to achieve that, particularly with Unai Emery, who did a brilliant job of just controlling that game, bringing the tempo down, making sure his players weren't erratic when they went 1-0 down, and when they went 2-1 up, he made sure that they controlled the game, took the tempo out of the game, and just saw out the result. Good result for Aston Villa. Manchester United beat Everton 3-0. I think that a lot of Manchester United fans have taken this victory sort of out of context. I think that they believe that this is the dawn of sort of a good run of fixtures. Manchester United are back. They're not back. I think that if you take this into context, Everton, who were 14th before the points deduction, are just another lower league team that Manchester United have beaten. When you add this to their run of results previously, they still haven't beaten a top half team except for Brentford. They're picking the vast majority of the points that they have picked up are against poor opposition, which Everton are. And the reality is that they didn't dominate Everton. Everton could have gotten a result out of this game if they had taken their chances. Obviously, what needs mentioning is the Garnacho bicycle kick. Unreal goal, especially for a 19-year-old to even attempt something like that, and to get the connection with it as he did was unreal. Very good goal, and congratulations for scoring the goal of the season and one of the best goals that the Premier League has ever seen. Bournemouth defeated Sheffield United at Sheffield United's home ground at 3-1, continuing what looks like to be the beginnings of a good run of form. They beat Newcastle at home in their last Premier League fixture, which was also a good result. And to defeat teams around you when you're in a relegation battle is the most important thing that you can do. If you can pick up points against those teams around you, then you are not likely to be the one that's going to be relegated. And I think that if Bournemouth can build upon this, continue to pick up points where not necessarily expected, as they did against Newcastle, and to pick up points against teams that they should be beating or they should be sort of competing with, then I think that they'll do okay. Sheffield United, unfortunately, and I apologise for the fans to this, but they are relegation fodder. They're going down, and unless they go on a 10-game winning streak, there's nothing they can do about that. Plucky Luton picked up a 2-1 victory against Crystal Palace at home. They do seem to be very plucky and very difficult to break down at home, as they were when they played against Liverpool and got the draw there. And they played against Manchester United and were unlucky not to pick up a draw. I think that low block that they play in is difficult to break down at home. And they look to break on the counter-attack and pick up goals through that method. And in this game against Crystal Palace, it worked for them. Crystal Palace, you'd expect them to beat Luton. Poor result for them. But Crystal Palace, they're not going to struggle this season. I expect that they'll finish sort of maybe 12th or 13th and continue on next season. Once again, a Premier League team. Speaking of plucky home teams, Burnley lost 2-1 to Westham at home. Burnley really struggling. Westham, obviously, not the best team in the Premier League. They're a decent team. You would hope that Burnley might, pull off a draw at home. I just don't see where Burnley pick up points. I just don't see it. They're so poor. Losing 2-1 to West Ham at home is something that I expected to occur, but not something that you would expect to occur. I think that the expectation is there because Burnley are so poor that I just don't see where they pick up points. And again, apologies to Burnley fans, but Burnley are relegation fodder. They're going down. And I think that with regard to Vincent Kompany, it would be a mistake to get rid of him. I think that go down to the Championship with him, allow him to bring you back up, maybe in a couple of seasons' time, with the addition of one or two key players, they could become a sort of Premier League mainstay team and do well under Vincent Kompany. Sometimes young managers need these learning curves to just bring them along a little bit. With regard to West Ham, 2 late goals again. They're the Fergie time team. David Moyes doing a really good job there, and I think that they're a steady mid-table team and they'll do quite well this season with regard to that. Finally, Forest hosted Brighton Hove Albion. Brighton, a very good plucky little team. I keep saying plucky little team. Brighton are a little team, but they have a very good transfer policy. They have a good manager, and I think that 7th or 8th maybe this season would be a good finish. And what's likely to happen is that sort of bigger teams will come in and pay 50, 60, 70 million pounds for their players. And they've always got a revolving door of talented players to bring in. It seems like they have them ready in advance to bring them in. Nottingham Forest, plucky little team. They score enough, but they concede too much. And it's the case in this game again. Obviously, Brighton had a player sent off, and Forest went looking for that equaliser, and they weren't able to get it. And that seems to be the case in a lot of Forest games, is they're either drawing and somebody gets a late winner against them, or they're losing and they're pushing for the equaliser and the whistle goes before they can find it. But I think that Forest would be okay this season, maybe 15th or 16th finish. But yeah, keep going, both of you, and you'll be fine. Let's get to the predictions then. And as mentioned previously, we're going to play a new game. And the game is based off of my predictions. I will get 1 point for predicting the correct direction. So for predicting home win, draw, away win. And I'll get 2 points for a correct scoreline. If I get 10 or more points, then the winnings will roll over to the next week. So this week the winning will be £1. Next week will be 2. If I get 10 or more. If I don't get 10 points, then one of the lucky commenters on this video from either YouTube or Rumble will receive the winnings via PayPal. So let's get into the predictions. Arsenal 2, Wolves 0. I think that Arsenal will have too much for Wolves. Wolves are a good side, but I just don't see Arsenal having any issues against Wolves at home. So 2-0. Brentford 3, Lutontown 1. Luton, obviously, plucky team at home, but away from home seem to struggle. They can concede 2 or 3 goals quite comfortably away from home. And I think that Brentford, despite missing Ivan Toney, I think that they will comfortably get 2 or 3 past Luton Town. So 3-1. Burnley 1, Sheffield United 1. This is a tough one to call, but I think that these two teams are so poor this season that neither one of them has the ability to defeat the other. That's how bad they both are. That they're going to struggle so much to pick up points that they won't even pick up points against each other. Burnley 1, Sheffield United 1. Forest 2, Everton 1. I think that Forest do score, and I think that Everton, coming off of the points deduction and the 3-0 loss to Manchester United, could go through a little confidence crisis, particularly since they couldn't find the finish against Manchester United, despite creating chances. Maybe they don't find the finish against Forest. Maybe Forest, score the 2 goals and are able to limit their conceding to just the 1. So Forest 2, Everton 1. Newcastle 2, Manchester United 0. I think that the result against Everton was a bit of a faux and false dawn for Manchester United. I think that they'll go back to the way that they were previous to that result, and they'll be facing a top half team in Newcastle, and Manchester United do not pick up points against top half teams this season. I think that despite the injury issues that Newcastle have got, that obviously the result against Chelsea shows that at home they're good enough to put serious defeats on good teams, particularly teams that can't score, which Manchester United are one of. So for me, Newcastle 2-0. Bournemouth 1, Aston Villa 3. I think that Aston Villa obviously are one of the more exciting teams to watch this season. They do get high score lines this season. They beat Brighton, and they beat Brighton by multiple goals. They've beaten other teams by multiple goals this season. I think that Bournemouth, they've had a decent run of form coming into this game, but I think that Aston Villa will be a step too far for them, and I think that Bournemouth should look to continue that run of form after this game. Chelsea 0, Brighton 1. I think that following those results, those three results in which were centred around the number 4, I think that they'll return to their previous form, Chelsea will. And previous to that, they lost 2-0 to Brentford. Brighton are a good side, good young players, good manager. And I think that that return to previous form for Chelsea will look like a 1-0 loss to Brighton. Liverpool 3, Fulham 0. I don't see Fulham offering anything in this game whatsoever. They're a decent mid to lower table side. But Liverpool, they have goals galore up front, decent in midfield, very good defensively. Maybe with Trent sort of dictating play in the middle of the park, spraying balls out for maybe Salah or Jota on that opposite side. And I just think that Liverpool will have far too much. I think maybe a Trent goal, we could see a Jota goal, we could see a Salah goal, and it'll be 3-0. West Ham 3, Crystal Palace 2. I think that in previous games when both West Ham and Crystal Palace have played sort of teams in and around them, they've often turned into high-scoring games. I think that this will be the same. I think that we'll go into the sort of 70th minute at 2-2 and looking like it's going to end 2-2. And I think that maybe West Ham will pop up in the end with a quick winner, 88th minute maybe, leaving Crystal Palace fans disappointed. But it'll be an exciting 3-2 game. Finally, Manchester City 4, Tottenham 0. This could be 10, it could be 15. I think that with the high line that Ange Postecoglou likes to play, and with those missing key players in Mickey van der Ven and James Maddison, that the team can't seem to maintain that high line and that press for 90 minutes. I think that there's a potential that Man City potentially go into sort of the 50th or 60th minute, 2 goals up. And then with the fatigue that comes out of playing that high line and that press, that maybe they grab 2 later goals, taking advantage of that tiredness. Manchester City will be all over Tottenham in this game, in my opinion, 4-0. So those are my predictions. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and have a great day.